Hey guys, welcome to the Wild Bit Show. I am Meghna,
And I'm Upamanyu.
and we've got a great show planned for you. You must be wondering about what the title is about. So we're obviously going to be talking about that, our headline topic, and we don't want to spoil it for you, so we'll tell you what exactly is happening and how are they getting a new hope. Apart from this, we are also going to be talking about how flash droughts are now pulling alarming amounts of moisture from the landscape, and wildfires everywhere are intensifying. And then we're also going to be talking about how Australia has confirmed its first mass bird flu mortality in wildlife. We were already covering the updates on this, and we were regularly talking about this. Um, and then we're also going to be talking about how four Pacific nations are planning one of the world's largest ocean corridors. What else do we have, Oops?
We again these illegal wildlife trades and crimes. We have covered this sort of space multiple times. So we'll be talking about Cambodia's illegal wildlife trade and its links to transactional crimes. There has been a comeback of the endangered black rhinos in Zimbabwe. We will speak about that. Um, French wildfires following the whole warming event and things like that. We will, talk about that. And there is some legal things that is happening as well um, in the in India around environmental clearances and things like that. So we will also speak about that. Related to that is a Western Ghats story. We will cover that. And one very interesting story where a Scottish, the gannet hunt has been banned or blocked by Scotland first time in a long time. So we'll speak about that too. And as always, if we have time, there are a lot more shorter stories that we would cover.
Okay, so our headline topic it says how rescued orangutans are rebuilding a new wild population in Sumatra. Janto Pine Forest Nature Reserve in Sumatra, Indonesia, had no orangutans 15 years ago, but now hosts a growing wild population built from rescued and relocated animals. Since 2011, the Sumatran Orangutan Conservation Program has brought nearly 200 orangutans to this reserve after rescuing them from the illegal wildlife trade or relocating them from areas affected by deforestation. The vast protected forests provide ideal habitat for the endangered species. Reintroduction is challenging as rescued apes must relearn survival skills, but efforts in Janto are remarkably successful. Researchers have confirmed at least 10 orangutans born in the reserve, indicating it is becoming self sustaining. Protecting this emerging population requires safeguarding forests and rivers from increasing human pressure at the reserve's borders. Now, obviously, this is still a forest nature reserve and it's protected. And we all know the plight of orangutans with the growing palm oil industry and the pressure that palm oil is putting on the forests in Indonesia. There are hardly any places left where wild orangutans can breathe and live. There are some places in Borneo and Sumatra, but even we hear like very very common stories. I think very alarming stories. Right, looks like all the time that there's like one new contract given for more palm oil plantations, and there is opposition from the indigenous communities, or more orangutans are disappearing. So this is actually a very nice story in that way that there's something really positive that's happening on orangutans.
No, completely agree. And orangutans have also, I think, faced the brunt of this palm oil wave because also they have habitat, they have in tuned themselves to the very habitat that is also lucrative for palm oil plantations. And again, as we have discussed before, these animals actually evolved, um, millions of years to survive in these particular kinds of habitats. So it's very difficult for them to adjust to a new one, or you know just if in a such short span of time. That's the thing we must understand, that in a very short span of time, if you have you know plunged these animals into a new habitat or a new way of living, they wouldn't be able to adjust, the animals,
But
that
I
is.
think that is what is remarkable about this project, that they relearned their survival skills
Mm,
and they're, self-sustaining. So which means that I think we don't give animals the credit they need to get. A lot of animals obviously cannot,
mm,
survive if you change their environment. But in this case, the orangutans have proved us wrong. So it's great that this project is working so well, which means even other deforested areas where there are orangutans, if they can be housed in this, in this pine forest reserve, that would be great. Not pine
mm.
forest, in this
Do
forest
you
reserve.
think
It's called
there
a,
could be a
yeah, it
link
could be.
to um, them being so close to humans and their adaptability or their intelligence, and them thinking about adaptability and things like that?
I mean, we don't know. I mean, they're definitely intelligent. I don't know if they have like existential questions in their head, but yeah, that brings us to this one question, which is our discussion question. It says, "What does it mean to restore a species when humans remain central to its survival?" So like we're the ones ripping down their environment, we're the ones taking down all the trees, we're the ones saying that, oh yeah, we want palm oil in our chips, we want palm oil in everything. It's
Mm.
cheap, it's affordable, I don't care if the orangutans are dying. And at the
Is it
same
healthier
time,
as well? Is it
no, I
healthier?
don't know. No, no. In fact, there's a lot of like, I don't know if it's happening in New Zealand, but in India, there is like a lot and a lot of push from newer like chips companies and newer snack companies where they specifically say no palm oil, no palm oil, no palm oil.
Right. So it's just
So
cheaper for
it's
these
just cheaper.
organizations to produce.
Yeah, it's just cheaper, I think. It's
Mm.
not healthier by any, yeah, by any measure.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, so we're the same humans who rip down their environment, and then we're the same humans who are building it back up. But if we are needed for their survival, what does it even mean? Like, I mean, at a point of time, a wild animal needs to be wild enough to survive on its own.
Mm.
But in this case, because we're the ones who caused the damage, we're the ones trying to bring it back. And how much interference is okay, I don't know. Like, it's something as humans, I think we need to discuss.
Yeah, for me, I think this level of interference, again, I don't know if the society that is, or the conservation organization that is actually doing this work is, that does have like a succession plan of sorts, that okay, after this, our we will slowly wane our support, and you know they might have some milestones in mind. Okay, if the orangutan shows this kind of behavior, or the group shows this sort of behavior, then we'll slowly start waning our support or something like that. They must have something, but in lack of that, I think, if the plan is to indefinitely support the species, while will be good for the species, but again, we are denying them of their wild living and their way of life, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the key aspects though is that this has been remarkable and that is amazing. But at the same time, I hope that they know how many orangutans can survive in this nature reserve, and it's not overpopulated because they're trying to rescue too many orangutans from different places, because that could
Hmm.
also be a problem then. But they are conservationists, and they would have other scientists and everyone working with them. It's called the Sumatran Orangutan Conservation Program, or SOCP. Um, I will just share the website very
Hmm.
quickly. Just give me a
Hmm.
second. So yeah, I mean this is actually really nice because Orangutans get a lot of love. Like, you remember when we were little, we used to see a lot of movies featuring orangutans. It's especially this one movie where this kid was in a hotel and he had an orangutan with him. Do you remember that? What's that movie?
No, actually,
You
the
haven't watched
childhoods
that
were
one?
different as well. So,
Man, okay. I'll have to figure that out as well. But yeah, like, I mean, orangutans were loved. So this is their website. It's called the Sumatran Orangutan Conservation Program. We will try to contact them and see
hmm,
if one of the conservationists would be willing to talk to us about the program and how it's working and all the questions that we have, because we're also curious about how the program's working. And it's talking about the distribution, what they do, where they're working, and the news. So this is great, and you can
hmm.
also
Shout out to
virtually
them.
sponsor. Yeah, and you can virtually sponsor an orangutan if you are interested, which will mean that
Hmm.
you are contributing to their new habitat. So that is amazing. And yeah, we will keep you updated on this, and we will try to get one of the conservationists on board.
Yeah, that would be great. And I think this could also be a template for, because this kind of work has already been done for, let's take for an example Kakapo in India. This has already been done for them, and there this could be a template for like the great apes basically, which was not achieved or not done before this. So yeah, it's a great project and a very positive story, I guess, to start the episode with. Yeah.
Yes, sometimes we actually end the episode with a good note,
Hmm.
but this time we're starting with a good note.
Hmm.
Yep. So that is great.
Hmm.
So what do we have next, Oops?
This again is going to be a very well discussed topic on this show. Um, it's a very well discussed space, but again, things keep coming up in this space, and this space still needs a lot of conversation and a lot of effort from all parties that are involved. So, investigation exposes Cambodia's illegal wildlife trade linked to transnational
Transnational. Yeah.
crime. An undercover investigation by US NGO Earth League International reveals a thriving illegal wildlife trade in Cambodia, serving government officials and wealthy Chinese nationals. The year long probe identified five kingpins operating transnational criminal networks involving wildlife smuggling, human trafficking, drug trafficking, and scam operations. So they have spread their webs across all the illegal industries. Endangered species products, tiger bone wine. Wow, okay. Tiger cub meat. My God. Rhino horns and elephant ivory are openly sold in shops and restaurants throughout the country. Products are stored in warehouses within special economic zones that also contain illicit drugs and illegally logged timber. The investigation documents the convergence of environmental crime with organized syndicate activity, wildlife trafficking linked to money laundering through casinos in these zones. Logistic operatives claim connections to Cambodian customs officials and political elites. Hmm. I think we have spoken a lot about um, traditional medicine and
Yeah.
the Southeast Asian subcontinent having this immense interest in tigers, rhinos, elephants, bats. Mm, mm,
But weirdly, it hasn't talked about the medicines even once here.
yeah.
It does say, and it comes back to that it reveals a wildlife trade in Cambodia serving government officials and wealthy Chinese nationals. It
Mm,
somehow loops back to China with their
mm.
appetite for all these exotic animals and their, I don't know. I mean, tiger bone wine, like, why make wine from a bone? Like, it makes zero sense. And if you've been to, like, Vietnam, you know that they have a snake in a bottle and then they call it like a snake wine. So I don't know. I mean, tiger bone wine, like, why make wine from a bone? Like, it makes zero sense.
yeah, Meghna might be facing some issues there, but yeah, I think the more um, I guess surprising thing for me was also um, the cub meat. Why would you eat tiger meat? Because it's not supposed to be, from what I've heard, some documentations in certain, you know, um, certain obscure texts from a long time ago, has documented, humans, because we as humans have tried all kinds of meats at all different points in time, throughout our history. So there has been some documentation of how a tiger meat, or how tiger meat tastes like. And the consensus generally has been, because these are very muscular creatures, the tiger meat often tastes very hard, and it can be very hard to digest. So maybe they're saying the cub meat might be tenderer, or something like that. But I don't know why would they even do that. So one of the discussion question we have here is, can international wildlife protection work if the officials enforcing it are personally profiting from poaching? Let me share also first a quick image that would give you um, an idea of what it's meant by the tiger skin. So these are the kind of tiger skins that are being poached, and now that they're also being poached, like along with all the other things that I mentioned: tiger bone wine, tiger cub meat, rhino horns, and elephant ivory. So this is sort of the kind of tiger, or like the animal parts that are being poached. Now, there was a time that these, especially the photograph that is on our screens now, um, this would be used as an adornment in a living room somewhere, like a carpet or something like that, mostly in the homes of hunters. So I think gone is that time that we should be fascinated by something like this, or gone is that time that we should want to have these kinds of things in our home, whether it is for medicinal purposes, or whether it's for decorative purposes. So I think, yeah, I don't understand the mind of someone who is wanting these sorts of trinkets, or these sorts of animal parts in their homes, especially of the animals that are critically endangered and are facing a major risk um, in areas. So yeah, that's that about um, the images that I was sharing. And then the discussion question, where it asks that, can international wildlife protection work if the officials enforcing it are personally profiting from poaching? And that is a potent question. That is absolutely the right question to ask here, and a potent question, because if the protectors are the hunters as well, then very, very slim chance that um, these animals have uh, even a chance at survival. These animals even have um, you know a little chance at survival. So it will be very difficult for these animals to um, to survive, actually. So yeah, it's very difficult if the protectors are becoming the enforcers, the law enforcers, they are becoming the poachers as well. Then they have the connections um, that no poacher would have, and they have the power to do anything that they would like. Mm.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I there's always some kind of technical difficulty every time. This time my laptop just decided to like black out, and I didn't even know
Mm.
what happened. It just kind of like threw me out of the show, so I had to come
Mm.
back. But yes, so I we still on the Cambodia topic.
Yes, yes. We
Yeah,
just asked the question that, if the officials are enforcing it, are personally profiting, then, how can we stop this racket? Uh,
yeah,
is
I
there even a
know. I
way?
mean, no, there is never a way for this. Like the problem, especially with our countries, we don't have like legit frameworks. Okay, and this is also, I think, one of the reasons that we're still developing, because we don't have discipline and we don't have rules and we don't have anyone who enforces the rules. We have rules just in place, like it's more like a recommendation for most people. They don't take it like seriously. So it is, and the problem is money is such a thing. Oops, like there's so much greed everywhere in every human, and if it gives them money, then they will do it. And sometimes I wonder, like these officials, obviously these government officials, they earn a lot from these under the table kind of schemes.
Mm.
And how much is enough, like because you're never going to be able to show it, you're never be able to flaunt it. You can't buy a big house, a big car. You can't do multiple trips because you'll be flagged off. So what are you going to do with all that money? Like at some point of time, just stop and start doing something for the animals, the environment, the humans, anyone. Why
Maybe
is
the
it that
property
tough?
buying restrictions, because they yield so much power within the country, the property buying and all the other restrictions, they might be able to, as long as it deals with their country alone, they might be able to skirt around those particular
No, no,
restrictions. But
it's not restrictions, but it's more like, you're a government official, so everybody knows how much money you make. So if you have
hmm,
a lavish big house, then you would be under scrutiny, right? Like, how did you even get the money for that house, kind of thing. It's more that kind of restriction, the societal
right.
restriction. Yeah.
I don't know whether they in Cambodia these officials are caring or not, because this has been going on for a long time, and I think there are a lot of illegal people all around the world who will find their the use for their money, and they'll buy these lavish houses and things like that. But yeah, if these enforcers, the core of the thing is also, is if the enforcers are doing these kinds of corruption, then the animals have nowhere to go. Like, who
Absolutely.
should they trust, basically?
Absolutely. And also, I really feel like if I was ever Thanos, the first thing I would do with clicking my hands is that take off all these wealthy, I don't know, nationals from every country, because they're the
Hmm.
ones who are polluting the most. They're the ones with all these weird, you know, uh, I don't know,
Obsessions.
appetites. I
Uh,
mean, tiger bone wine and tiger cub meat. Like why do you want all of those things? So I feel like the first thing I do is like, okay, anyone above this threshold, like you snap your finger and they all get lost. I don't know what will happen with their wealth or whatever will happen with everything next, but I think this is really really needed. And a lot of these Southeast Asian countries, I don't know about the government officials, but everyone else working under will do it for money, so they don't care about the animals as long as they're getting money. It's
mm,
sad because even in today's date, and I think Oops spoke about this a couple of episodes earlier, how demand for elephant ivory has reduced, which is why we don't see ivory being sold anymore. We don't hear so much poaching of elephants anymore. But it's sad to see that in this news it talks about elephant ivory all over again.
yeah, this might be the Asiatic elephants that they would be poaching, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, Africa has cracked down, or you know cracked up on the ivory trade very strictly,
yeah.
with a very
For
strong
them,
hand.
but rhinos could be from there, because rhinos are poached in Africa quite a lot even now.
Mm.
as opposed to, I don't know if it's on a similar basis in India, Nepal, and other places where rhinos are found. I'm not sure if it's on the same level.
They will have some rhinos as well, some Sumatran rhinos or something like that. The
Mm.
Cambodia. So, um, yeah, it is
and
sad.
and and it's sad that they're openly sold in shops and restaurants. Like,
Mm,
guys, if you really care about the environment, then be please more careful or more aware of what you're participating in. It's
mm,
one thing to change your food habits day by day and try to, have a more plant-based lifestyle, but it's another thing that just because you eat meat, you go and, you don't care about the environment and you eat everything that's available just because you want to try everything. It's not great because you're
mm.
fueling the demand for these kind of things. So make sure that don't be a
Do
bad
we
consumer.
become like those snobs in restaurants who ask about where is this meat sourced from, or what is the origin of this particular vegetable, or things like that? Do we become like that? Are we preaching
Uh,
that?
I don't know. I mean,
Maybe
uh,
these restaurants serve like tiger cub meat by saying this is like mutton or goat or something like that.
no,
I
no,
don't
I
know.
don't think so. No, I think it is the exotic appeal. Like,
Right.
how some people probably feel like, the trophy hunting thing that, oh, I've shot an animal. So I'm like a macho man. So it's probably the same thing that,
Hmm.
oh my God, I'm having tiger cub meat. I can go and boast about this. You can ask people, what is the weirdest thing you've eaten? And they'll be like, I will tell you the story when I ate tiger cub meat. So it's just stupid. But yeah, that's how it works, I think.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So I think again, this is an appeal for the government officials there, customs official, political leaders, and things like that to hold the people that are accountable and actually prosecute them and make sure that these practices do not continue into the future. Uh, and I don't
Yeah.
know how much power the people there have, but if someone listening has the connections to straighten this out or help straighten this out, then definitely our appeal would be to go and do that. Yeah.
Yep. Yes. And I guess that's about it that we can
Mm-hmm.
talk on this topic.
Yeah.
Oops, okay, wait. I can't mark, so I'll just head on to the now next topic. Uh, One second. Let me just actually refresh really quick.
Hmm.
This one website, just my this OBS.
I've
Okay.
marked this one. You can move on, but yeah.
Okay, cool. I got it. I can do the next one. Flash droughts pull alarming amounts of moisture from the landscape and intensify wildfires. New research. Severe droughts typically precede catastrophic wildfires, but not all droughts behave the same way. Flash droughts, rapidly occurring dry spells driven by intense heat and unusually low humidity, represent a new dangerous phenomena distinct from the standard droughts that develop over months or years. Recent research mapping 2 decades of global satellite data revealed that when landscape transitional from prolonged standard drought into rapid flash drought, or when both overlap, they create a hyper flammable state. This condition acts as a massive fire accelerant, causing wildfires to spread faster, last considerably longer, and grow significantly larger than typical fires. While standard droughts gradually dry vegetation like a slow oven, flash droughts rapidly remove moisture like a hair dryer, fundamentally altering fire behavior. It's really funny how they're comparing the oven and hair dryer, and they're trying to make it more relatable for other people who are not in the wildlife industry to relate to it. So
Hmm.
yeah, like imagine the hair dryer sucking out all the moisture, which means that there is no moisture in the out there in the environment, and that is probably why there is that in that basically is like a trigger for wildfires, because if there is no water, then the fire would burn faster, and there
Hmm.
is easier chance for the fire to burn because it is all dry.
Hmm. Yeah, and moisture is the one thing, like we can try to prevent wildfires by, um, through our own fire brigades and things like that. But yeah, we won't be able to ever do it against nature. So I think moisture and rain is the only thing that can effectively stop or effectively prevent wildfires. So the increasing droughts mean that um, you know the wildfires kind of become and an inevitability. And these people have tracked the satellite based fire data from 2002 to 2021, and they have been seeing the increase, as Meghna said, and larger wildfires um, all over as well. So I would believe that this is a function of global warming. What else could it be, right?
Yeah, it is.
Mm,
And I mean, obviously, so we did not hear so much about flash floods and flash droughts before this, but over the
mm,
last 10-15 years, I think we've been hearing more and more. So they used to be
mm,
more like a rare occurrence earlier,
mm,
but now we talk about it as if it's just like very normal for this to
mm,
happen, which is not
mm.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is basically a very warning that the environment has been able to or is being giving us. I would think that we would, you know, take that warning or heed that warning, but I don't think so. We have changed any of our behaviors over, or at least like on the contrary, we have become more, exploitive of the same things that would lead to these kinds of wildfires. And we have heard about like some of the never-ending wildfires that goes going on in Australia and other
Canada.
places, Canada, and places like that. And these would only increase. And as we keep saying that when it comes to your door, then the fire will burn under your behind. And you know that's when we
Yeah.
will realize that this needs some kind of remedy, and that's when we'll protest and do the things. And I don't know, something reached New York recently as well, the wildfires, right? Not New York, like the
No, they
smoke and
didn't. They
smog.
didn't. Yeah, 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 yeah. So it's something that's happened a couple of years back, and it
Mm,
wasn't normal. It wasn't normal even back then that the smoke
mm,
was reaching New York and it was like engulfed in all the smoke. But all the way from Canada and all the way from other places where the wildfires are hitting, it's affecting like places across like thousands of kilometers, because the wildfires are so intense. And there are people from Canada as well who have posted stories this time and talked about how they've never seen a fire like this. They've never seen this constant burning wildfire, and it's something that happens in Indian forests as well. And people have to be like extremely, extremely careful about in the forest that they're if there's a fire then it has to be controlled. But
mm,
I think we have like forest lines, and we have wildlife that's crossing, so we keep doing the patrolling. A lot of places, like I think in Canada and Australia, there are places that humans can't reach, so it's
mm,
impossible to create like a forest line. So a forest line is basically like a line where you remove trees right in the middle. So if
mm,
fire catches any one patch, it can't pass on to the next patch because there is nothing to pass on to. There's just
mm,
like empty land. But
mm,
I don't know if that's like a feasible method or something that is actually possible in these
mm,
places.
mm. Yeah. We have this discussion question. It says, if flash droughts create hyperflammable landscapes overnight, are we prepared for this new reality? Um,
Mm, honestly, I don't know.
I think this speaks to the broader reality of a climate you know, climate devastated climate devastated future where the climate has been completely drained, the earth has been completely drained, and this points to a very dystopian future that we have probably seen in some of the movies and other renditions of popular media and things like that. So when we look at those films or TV shows or read those books,
Mhm.
do you think we are prepared for that? I absolutely don't think so. That we are the all the cushy life that we are leading and the lavish lifestyles some of the climate criminals are living. Um, that would be gone in an instant if nature decides to take
That
offense.
absolutely, and I think we've seen enough movies made about this that we cannot and absolutely cannot take nature for granted. But I think we'll have to just be, I don't know, more aware and more. I don't know. As a human race, I think we really, really need to start prioritizing climate change and global warming. We can't keep it on the back burner anymore. That, the slow oven reference here. That's what we're doing
Hmm.
with the Earth. So it's a slow
Hmm.
oven for us right now. So we're like, oh, it's slow. We don't need to
Yeah.
bother. The same analogy with how we thought about sugar for the longest time. Oh, the poisoning is slow. It doesn't
Frog in a
matter.
boiling water, kind of. We are getting used to
Yeah,
the because the changes are slow. We're getting used to the new realities, um, and
yeah,
by the time it's too hot, we won't know what hit us, basically.
yeah. So yeah, let's hope that I don't know. I really don't know what to hope in this case because
Hmm.
I don't know if there is actually like a stop for intense droughts or intense flash floods. But we have to brace ourselves. If we're not going to make
Hmm.
changes, then we have to brace ourselves. We have to be okay with whatever nature is throwing at us because we can never be more powerful than nature, and this is something we have to understand.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, we will keep following the story. I think these kinds of story will be, unfortunately, if we continue like this kind of story would be more and more present in the media as the days go by. So we'll have to sort of keep following this story or these kinds of stories as we go on. Speaking of that, we have another wildfire story on our script today from a place which might have been experiencing these kinds of remarkable heat and devastation for one of the first times in history. So this is a story from National Geographic. We'll see some good pictures in a moment, but French wildfires are turning animals' homes into a desert of ashes. Devastating wildfires across Europe, particularly in France and Spain, have triggered a major humanitarian and severe ecological crisis simultaneously. While over 200,000 people or 2 lakh people have evacuated and dozens have died, wildlife faces catastrophic consequences. Millions of animals are predicted dead, with surviving species facing increasingly grim survival prospects. Climate change directly drives these fires by causing severe drought. Increased temperatures allow the atmosphere to absorb moisture from soil and plants, creating tinder dry vegetation conditions. Near Bordeaux, over 100,000 or 1 lakh acres now resemble a desert of ashes. Small animals like shrews, hedgehogs, and lizards have lost forest habitats and camouflage cover, leaving them vulnerable to predators. Their insect food sources have been decimated. Toad species appear particularly threatened by these fires. And I am going to share some images here. This is black redstart, um, which was which can be seen in the Pilat Region National Park in France 2 days after wildfire destroyed several acres. Look at the plight. It's all blackened, black ashes. It's a devastation that if you haven't been in a wildfire, or haven't seen a wildfire with your own eyes, you wouldn't be able to imagine the scale that the devastation is in. And as you look at this. Oh my God! Look at the destruction that has happened. This is so saddening. It has become complete wasteland. The entire thing, and the complete thing is black. Now, wildfires are um, a naturally occurring phenomena, even without human intervention. But the difference here is that this is clearly contributed to by our actions, climate change, global warming. So, this is a picture taken from the French Civil Security Rescue Coordination helicopter, shows a burned area after a wildfire near Les Porges, France. And the last point the summary also mentioned are smaller ground dwelling animals and the plight they face. The western spreadfoot toad may be one of the creatures most affected by French wildfires. As a slow moving ground dweller, they may have had trouble escaping. And as the summary mentioned, their prey, the insects, have been completely decimated as well.
Yeah. And I think this is the sad part. We obviously do not probably feel the impact because if you're not in a place that has been impacted by wildfires or droughts or flash floods, you will never understand the impact or how it feels to be in that situation. So, everyone feels bad for a few days that, oh, the situation's so bad in this area of the earth or in this area. But humans tend to forget and tend to move on, and that is what is happening with all these wildfires. And I don't think France is even a place where like wildfires used to occur at this rate.
Mm,
And now we're hearing so much about Europe's heat waves and all the conditions that is propelling everywhere across the earth to get this hot. So that's
mm,
the sad part. Like there has to be some way that we can have more debates and more talks and more awareness and more changes. This is the need of the hour. As much as it might curb our conveniences, this is what we need to do.
yeah. And the discussion question that has been asked here is, as climate driven fires devastate ecosystems, how do we balance immediate human relief with species conservation? And this is also a very important question here, because the government resources, can only be spread so thin. So, do we prioritize human rescue, or do we prioritize animal rescue? Um, and I think in the hours that really matter, where you can choose one or the other, I think unfortunately it will be the human rescue that will be chosen by pretty much everyone, 99% of the people on Earth. Um, Certainly the politicians who care a lot about their image and public image, things like that. Mm.
Yeah, that is true. So I
Mm.
think we need to yeah, I mean we can have all these discussions all the time and we will keep talking about this, but human relief, species conservation, this is only going to get harder and harder because
Mm.
we keep seeing these news more often and often, and it's going to keep getting that way if we don't start making like big changes. We need to make bigger changes to everything in our life, like be it our diet, be it our travel, be it our consumption. Last time we spoke about, I think, cheap, fast fashion. Is that what we talked about?
Mm.
Yeah,
Correct.
we need to be very careful. Like it can't be a capitalistic society anymore. It's sad, and maybe we are the generation, and our next generations I don't even know. I don't even know all the kids that are being born now, what they're even being born into. Like they probably have to really sacrifice a lot of things, so because the older generations
I
made sure.
think, I think again, this is not something, we will not go into the details of things because this is not related to our show. But I feel like I have a lot of trust in the next generation, especially the Gen Z, who have reached an age of, adulthood and integration into the society. I have a lot of trust in them. Our next generation, basically, we are millennials, but the Gen Z, feel like, yeah, I have got a lot of trust in them that they will help turn things around. The way that Gen Z is making waves in some of the most important and well discussed topics around the world, I feel like there is a high chance that they will not follow in their fathers and grandfathers' footsteps, mothers or grandmothers' footsteps. So yeah, and I think also politicians, we actually have to sort of, again, not going too much deep into politics, but we actually have to give office as a society to more and more progressive politicians, especially in the democracies where we can. Um, Progressive does not always mean young, but unfortunately, in a lot of times, it does correlate to um, the youngness of a candidate, to how progressive and how open and wide thinking they are. And I think these kinds of policies should be a baseline requirement of every manifesto from every candidate, that if you don't have a climate policy or a stance on climate, then you basically shouldn't be allowed to participate in the race at all. What do
The
you think?
thing is that it can work in developed nations because climate can take precedence there, and climate should take precedence everywhere. But imagine there
Mm,
are like a lot of poor people out there who are just trying to like make their ends meet,
mm,
especially in developing countries. They don't care what's happening in the environment, right? They don't care about the climate, and they shouldn't even be forced because they're not the ones who are contributing to all the
mm.
climate change and the global warming that's happening. So there has to be maybe like a threshold of if you earn over this much, or if this is what you're doing or where you're staying, then these are the measures you'll have to take. There has to be some kind of
Like a carbon
uh,
footprint based
yeah, yes,
decision.
yes, yes. There has to be a carbon footprint based decision. Yeah, maybe like you have to have policy and you have to have penalization. You have to probably have something else. I wouldn't say a tax because again, most governments across the world are very corrupt. So taxing for climate change is not going to go in the right direction. But hopefully, um, but I know what you mean. I just think it won't work in all countries. It can't be like a blanket statement for all countries. That is
Mm,
the problem.
mm. All the one could use the word crazy, but I won't use it. But all the enigmatic, let's say, leaders of these new wave AI companies, especially Mr. Musk and Mr. Altman, they have been claiming that AI is the next frontier that will solve climate change, wildfires, these deserts of ashes.
How?
Um, uh,
It's
that
the
was my
one.
question to you. What do you think about that?
Oh my god. I mean, we were literally talking about how the data centers are using up all the water everywhere. So, how is AI going to be the savior if it is going to also be the destroyer?
Right.
So I don't know, unless they have like a roadmap and or they've spoken about what solutions they have in their mind. I don't think we actually can you know take their dialogues very seriously. I think just take it
Yeah.
with a pinch of
I
salt.
mean, they're monologues for the most part, because if the journalist or the person who's interviewing them tries to ask for evidence, they don't have any evidence to show. They won't share their roadmaps, as you said, in the veil of, or in under the guise of secrecy. Okay, this is like real competitive difference that we can make and things like that. And our competitors will steal this information and things like that. So um sharing no information but making these bold claims, I feel like should always be taken with a lot of salt, because um, these
Plus, don't
claims.
don't trust don't trust like the businessmen who actually make the
Mm,
software or make the product, because they would always be pro their product, right? Because they made it,
mm.
so they would never talk ill about it. So for
Don't
them,
trust a
like
wolf for guarding your chicken or something like that. I
exactly,
think the proverb
yes.
goes, yeah.
Yes. So that is, I mean, for them, they probably think that, oh, this is going to solve everything. While everywhere else, they're talking about how AI is not going to do anything. Like AI
Mm,
is actually depleting whatever we already have.
Mm,
Everywhere across the world, like I saw news from Florida yesterday that there's this protected area and they're actually like ripping that down, or there is not it's not a protected area, but it's like a green area. And
mm,
Florida is known for its wildlife, and I think they're
mm.
bringing up a data center there, so an
Oof.
AI data center. So it's happening across the world. So yeah, I'm sorry, but till you can show me how AI is helping, then
Mm.
I'm sorry, AI is not helping.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
helping. Um, yeah, so I think the French government, the European government, has to wake up to this reality. They haven't faced this before, or even if they have, not in this particular scale or in this massive scale. So, because you don't want to be in a situation where you have to prioritize between sort of extraction or saving versus the animal saving, and you can't save both. You don't want to be in that position. So I think the governments should wake up to this fact and do all that is necessary to prevent the occurrence of future, um, this scale of wildfires.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay.
Mm,
Heading on to the next topic.
mm,
Um, we're going to be talking about how not how but how actually how okay Australia has confirmed its first mass bird flu mortality in wildlife. We've been
mm,
talking about the bird flu reaching Australia. We've been talking about how people are panicking. We've been talking about all of this, but this is the first news that actually confirms everything we were talking about, everything that we were scared about, and everything that we are not doing anything about, especially with bird
mm,
flu. Australia
mm,
confirmed its first mass mortality of native seabirds from H5N1 avian influenza. On August 1st, authorities found 49 dead and 35 sick crested terns at Borden Rocks off South Australia. The virus was first detected in late June in migratory seabirds. As of August 3rd, 2026, the country recorded 78 confirmed cases across 5 states, 58 in South Australia, and 10 in Western Australia. The virus also affects silver gulls. Agricultural Minister Julie Collins confirmed the outbreak, noting significant bird losses are inevitable once spreading in wildlife. Chief Veterinary Officer Sky Firuyan described the event as unusual and significant, warning escalation is very rapid. Government management plans have been activated, though controlling though controlling spread through worldwide bird movement remains difficult. Um, I think I don't know if we spoke about this in the previous episode, or I feel like we've spoken about this when we were scripting. But we spoke about how, like, if bird flu affected us humans, we would have a solution for it already. Like, we would
mm,
have vaccines out there. We would be doing something so that the birds are also not affected, so that they don't affect us somehow. But there would be like
mm,
solutions. There would be like massive movement, massive funding, massive donations, massive research, but just because it only affects the birds and it rarely affects humans, we are just like, oh, it's significant, it's sad, it's bad, it's, the birds are dying and it's rapidly, spreading. We would have actually kept it not, wherever it originated from, we would have gone to the point and we would have made sure that it didn't spread this much. But now we just let it spread, and I don't know what the future for bird flu and the birds are.
um, yeah, I completely agree with that. We had discussed this while scripting that, um, we did see how COVID vaccine was so quickly developed. You know, the all the protocols of vaccine development, which usually takes 2 to 3 years, was thrown out of the window to just be able to save those lives and save those, yeah, just to make sure that no more people, because the politicians also had to save face, in terms of, like, denying it first and then seeing so many deaths and then reversing course and trying to course correct in a very short amount of time. And we have a very interesting question here as well. when we could take massive measures to reduce weakened COVID strains. Exactly that. What is stopping us from doing the same for bird flu? And
Mm.
again, what's your thought on that?
No, yeah, I think that this is something we spoke about in the scripting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, the only thing that's stopping us from doing the same for bird flu is that it's that we're not birds. If we were
Yeah.
birds, or I mean, all the people who kept birds as pets, if it was giving them some disease, or all the all the zoos or wherever birds were, if
Yeah.
that if it started spreading like massively through us, it would have been something that we would have taken care of long back. We would have had like massive shutdowns, just like the COVID pandemic. We would have brought this under control. But we just don't care enough because it's not something that's affecting us. We still don't, we talk about it, like, the government officials are saying it's significant, but I think even they don't know what it means for the future of these birds, because a lot of birds, as we've spoken last time also, they're seed dispersers. They're pest control because they eat the small insects. They provide a lot of, what do you say, they're environment regulators, and they're also indicators of a healthy environment. There are certain birds that can only live in certain environments. So like when sparrows disappear from an environment, you know that it's not a healthy environment anymore, because they need a certain level of environment to thrive in. So once the pollution levels and other levels go up, there are certain birds that disappear, like sparrows. So when birds are so important for us, I don't know what we're doing. And does this mean that all birds are going to be affected eventually, and there's no saving? Then what's going to happen in the future, like for us? And can we
Hmm.
actually revive anything back?
Yeah. Because this is something that has I can't remember correctly, but this is something that was reported that has reached Antarctica as well, right?
Yeah, no, it first reached Antarctica. So it reached Antarctica long back, and it
Right.
started even affecting the seals there, the elephant seals,
Hmm.
and because they were consuming the birds. So then it was
Right.
found to be prevalent in the seals as well. But I don't think it
Hmm.
was affecting the seals as much as it was affecting the birds.
Hmm.
There were definitely deaths linked to the bird flu, and primarily because migratory birds go all the way from wherever to Antarctica. So they brought the strain from there, and from Antarctica, it's gone to Australia actually, because there are birds
Hmm.
that go between Antarctica and Australia as well.
That is also very concerning, in my view, at least, that it has reached such an isolated population in such a faraway land.
But
Um,
I mean, it's because it's birds. Like if it happened with the seals, then it would not have reached anywhere else. Or you know how it's the same thing like how they stopped our flights during COVID. That if you're going to fly a lot, then you're going to spread it across the world. So that is
hmm.
why flights were grounded everywhere. But with birds, I mean, they carry their own flight. They are like the plane. So
Yeah.
it's tougher with birds because they would keep interacting. So like there are some species that probably interact with some species, and then some other species would interact with some other species. But if there is an overlap somewhere, that is where the
Uh,
problem is happening. Now, like they've said that native seabirds, so which means that these are like bird seabirds that
residents.
belong, yeah, um, not just residents but probably even indigenous, like they belong to Australia, so they are being affected. So they probably didn't even have like maybe a crossover, but they've gotten it from other birds, and then these
Hmm.
birds would meet other birds, and those birds would fly somewhere else. So this is going to be like a chain, unless we make a vaccine or we make something that it doesn't spread further.
Yeah. Um, I think we will keep an eye on this as well, this story as well, and it will show up in our feeds anyway. But I think the Australian and New Zealand, because these are, and Chile maybe, these are the three countries very close to Antarctica, and they should, the governments and the forest departments here should take caution to the fact that this is spreading and this is starting to impact more and more birds. So there needs to be a solution. There needs to be a solution very quickly. So
Absolutely.
I don't know if the scientists already have a plan, but there needs to be one if there is not yet.
Yep. Yep. I think heading on to the next topic. Oops.
Hmm. Yeah. Let's do this one. Um, where it says the sorry, I'm just trying to go to the right one.
The Zimbabwe's black rhinos or the
Um,
Supreme
let's do
Court one?
the Western Ghats
Okay.
um one because we already did the black rhino story. Um, Western Ghats conservation with science and dialogue. This is again seems like a good thing. The Western Ghats, spanning six Indian coastal states, are internationally recognized biodiversity hotspots with 39 protected areas designed as UNESCO World Heritage Sites in 2012. To protect this fragile ecosystem, the Western Ghats Ecology Expert Panel (WGEEP) recommended declaring 142 talukas across 44 districts. Taluka is a smaller division of a district, like electorate districts as an ecologically sensitive area (ESA), subdivided into three ecologically sensitive zones with strict regulations under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. However, strong local opposition prompted a 2012 high level review of Kasturingan, which significantly reduced restrictions and coverage to just 37% of the Western Ghats region. The ministry issued a draft notification in 2014, but disagreements persisted. In a 2022 expert panel examined stakeholder concerns. Currently, Gujarat and Goa support finalization while Maharashtra requests further review. What? What is this? This is like um, you're debating on the climate and bringing uh, politics into it. And
But this
when
is how it
the
works.
unfortunately, unfortunately,
Yeah. So this is absolutely how it works, and I don't know if it works the same way in other Southeast Asian countries. But the way to get around environmental clearances here is to just declare that the area isn't environmentally protected anymore, and so you pass a law or you ask for like a review, or you put in a petition, and then if that is rolled back, then you can say, oh, this is not protected anymore, so I can
mm,
deforest it. So I remember this one story that a culture told me when I was working under her. So she was telling me that in some community in Rajasthan, I think they wanted to, they had like a lot of nilgais and they were raiding their crops, and they had this huge problem with a lot of nilgais. Now, nilgai is a type of deer, which looks a little bluish, which is why it's called a nilgai.
mm.
And so the problem was that they wanted to do.
Wow. Sorry, I'll just make one correction. Nilgai is a type of antelope and not deer. But yeah, that is very interesting. Um, no, they're two different biological families. No, they're different. Um, but uh, other than that, I think Meghna is gone because of a technical issue, a very crucial moment. But yeah, that's an interesting story that you could reclassify uh, an animal without any trial or tribulation from the scientific community, at least. Um, and you just, you know, do it according to your convenience. Um, you just, yeah. Um, so we have a discussion question here where it says, can protecting biodiversity um, succeed when conservation experts and local communities have fundamentally different visions of progress? Um, so it is very difficult. Again, this comes back to the the story of that we did about the poachers in Cambodia. If the protectors are the ones exploiting the entire thing, then yeah, it's very difficult for the environment the environment is the entity that suffers in that scenario. If the protectors become the you know uh, you know poachers or deforesters in this scenario, and you know they use legal frameworks to defer the changes rather than trying to use it to speed up the changes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
but that's not how it works, especially with corrupt governments. We've just spoken about it in Cambodia with the tiger
Mm-hmm.
cub meat and the tiger bone wine and how they're pleasing the Chinese wealthy nationals. It's the same that India, they're trying to please the wealthy Indian nationals who want to deforest parts or places to build something else. And this is why, and this happens everywhere. It's not just here. Like every place that had protected areas, they would just be like, okay, we'll just mark some other area protected that is in a remote zone and not the zone. Or we will replant or we'll reforest some other area where a lot of humans don't stay. But the on already protected area, they try to rip that off and they try to reduce
Mm.
it. And that's not how it should be. Like if you are an environment minister or you're an environment department, then you're supposed to be protecting it, not helping destroy it.
But I think also the most of the environment ministers and things like that around the world as well in politics, they are not very well versed in the environmental science, or they might not have read an environmental science in university or anything like that. So they are motivated by the politics of their parties and other things rather than being, motivated by the actual needs of the hour. I don't know if you any of you have visited the Western Ghats, but if you ever visit India, it's a very beautiful place to visit the Western Ghats, and there is a high chance that if this sort of attitude continues towards the Western Ghats, it could look completely different. It's associated with lush greenery and rolling hills and things like that, wouldn't you say, Meghna?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you should see them, especially in the monsoon when they're like
Mm,
waterfalls at every few hundred meters. It's insane, it's beautiful. And as Indians, we always kind of romanticize places outside India. But every time I go outside and I come back, I'm like, oh my God, there's no other place like India. And I honestly hope everyone out there feels the same way for their country. But I feel like it's mind blowing. I would not want to see the Western Ghats go out because the kind of wildlife they have, especially in herping. So the snakes and the amphibians and all kinds of reptiles and other kind of animals that you'd find, you wouldn't find them anywhere else. So we need to protect. the Western Ghats. We need to protect a lot of area in India because the wildlife diversity is crazy in this country.
Hmm. And the discussion question that we spoke about a little while earlier, I think there is a fundamentally different vision of progress, which the discussion question highlights between the experts and the local communities, or the ones who want to protect and ones who want to exploit. Is there any way you think that, like, what is the gap, the why is there this huge fundamentally different visions of progress? And this is not only in India, right? This is all over the world. We can see the, as they put it, the wealthiest country in the entire history of mankind. Their government has a similar stance on everything. And even the more conservative, or the more liberal governments do not hold a particularly strong stance on environment or anything like that. I
I
don't even
don't
feel
know.
like I've ever seen a politician talk about environment in a positive way. What is this gap, you say? Where does this come from? Why?
I think one, they don't need to be involved so much because they can just talk about it and leave it and not actually do anything about it. Um,
Mm,
Secondly, I feel like a lot of countries, especially developing countries, are in a race to become developed. So they're all
mm,
like challenging each other economically for growth. So
mm,
everyone wants to get to the level of the US or the UK or anywhere else where their currencies are strong and they don't have any other issues. But to become a developed country, the race to become the developed country, you actually put environment on the line for that,
mm.
which is sad because developed countries actually don't do that. Like, so countries like New Zealand, I don't know, it's debatable, it's called developed, but it has really prioritized, now not, but I think till the recent controversy, it really prioritized its environment, even with the road building and a lot of things. I think it's really prioritized that, okay, this is a green place, this is a protected place. This is obviously not, I mean, I'm not praising New Zealand for that. I'm praising it for how they built their roads and all. I'm not praising it for the pasture lands that are just miles and miles and miles and miles and miles that could be avoided. But yeah, so I think to reach that level for developing countries, you have to kind of give up on that dream to become a developed country.
Or we need a different definition of a developed country. I think, I don't know much. I haven't heard much of Bhutan in the news, but Bhutan is one of those countries which actually measures its developed index
Yeah.
by the amount of forest cover it has. The king actually is very pro environment, and one of the only monarchs, I think, around the world who is like that. So I think we need a different measure of developed, what we call as developed. I think the capitalistic way of thinking is costing us in more than one way.
Yeah, plus I think it's kind of easier to enforce certain things in a smaller country. So like Bhutan is a
Mm,
smaller country and everyone is okay and everyone loves their king and everyone follows everything. In smaller countries, it's probably easier to make changes also and easier to influence things. In bigger countries, like India is also not like geographically it's quite big. It becomes harder and harder because there's that appetite for greed that I think Bhutan doesn't have. Bhutan,
mm,
in fact, is capitalizing on other people's greed to
mm,
come and visit Bhutan. They're like, you want to come visit us, you pay us $250 per day, then we will
mm,
let you visit. And
mm,
it's kind of, I don't know, I mean, it's built an economy where it's given itself this like very bougie image that if you want to come here you need to have this much money, and at the same time
mm.
it's protecting its environment. I think that is where we need to head to next. Also,
Yeah.
Bhutan is like very pro vegetarian and very pro, very against killing of animals. There was this whole when we went to Bhutan, they were telling us that they don't really hunt down their meat and they don't kill their animals. A lot of times there are like road kills and other kind of kills, and they bring those animals in and they chop them down. And even if you find non-vegetarian food, it's not like actually like commercial non-vegetarian food. So
Mm.
people could tell that the meat was actually stale, like people were not used to. eating that meat.
Mm.
I don't know, did it happen with you?
No, it did not. It did not.
Mm,
But I think, yeah, well, we should learn something from that approach, as a world, as a people, and yeah, we could. It's not very difficult to shift our focus and shift our targets in a way that, you know that prioritizes, at least puts it on the map, puts it on the table, puts an equal voice for the environment on the table. And this has to be done globally. It can't be done one country, just one country, because we are way past that one country time. We have to do it globally, something right now. But we'll keep following the Western Ghats story. There is, if things like this continue, the Western Ghats could look drastically different by 2050. And there's a linked story, a report on the Hindu about that as well. But we'll keep following this story because, again, Western Ghats is some a place where it's very close to my heart. And it's a beautiful place. So again, do visit, but we'll keep following the story for any updates. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay. And what do we have next?
Mm.
Um, we're going to be talking about the four Pacific nations and that they're planning one of the world's largest ocean corridors. Four Melanesian countries, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Solomon Islands, are establishing the Melanesian Ocean Corridor of Reserves, a marine protected network in one of the world's richest ocean regions within the Coral Triangle, containing three quarters of known coral species. These waters support sharks, rays, dugongs, whales, and undiscovered species. Major anchors include Papua New Guinea's 214,000 square kilometer or 214,000 square kilometer no-take sanctuary and Vanuatu's 71,000 square kilometer protected area. Linked reserves protect migration routes, spawning grounds, and larval movement between reefs while deterring industrial fishing. However, governance details remain unclear. Maps, boundaries, enforcement, and funding are unavailable.
Mm.
Monitoring capacity differences could leave areas vulnerable to illegal fishing. Indigenous communities' governance roles remain undefined despite widespread customary marine tenure. And I think this is where our discussion question actually comes in as well. Even though the question, like even though the news starts really happy and really amazing to hear that there are these smaller countries that are taking such a big step, our discussion question stems from the ending part. Thus, protecting three quarters of the world's coral species without clear indigenous involvement risk repeating colonialism by another name. And I think
Mm.
that's true, because indigenous people and their tie with nature is very different to our tie with nature. They know what is great, what doesn't work, which animals live, what animals survive in what weather, and what animals you can eat in certain season. Nobody else can tell us all of this but indigenous people, and indigenous people need to be involved in all these decisions.
Mm. I think, yeah, again, the goal is great, but indigenous knowledge we often underestimate it. But it's a different kind of knowledge. They know it in their bones almost. By virtue of this collective knowledge that has been passed down, in subtle ways. Sometimes you won't even realize, but that indigenous knowledge is so rich and so great. The indigenous sciences and things like that, they might not be as advanced in certain fields as you know the peer reviewed science and peer reviewed things. But in these kinds of, where it comes to connection with nature, it has been displayably, their knowledge has been instrumental in certain cases. Now you have seen, we have reported on multiple stories how, in South America, Latin America, and there has been a lot of efforts by indigenous community to actually save forests, and the success they have been enjoying, in Latin America. So I think the the Pacific nations should also take a similar approach to including the indigenous knowledge. And I think it's not a very difficult thing. There shouldn't be any conflicts of interest, or I don't know why this was not the default and why we have to point it out. There might be some politics going on there, some sort of, I don't know, maybe uh, racism or things like that too, or political differences. I don't know what the case is, so I don't want to comment. But yeah, it shouldn't be that difficult to include that indigenous voice in there. And even if not indigenous, like there should be all kinds of representatives. If there are multiple types of population in a country, there should be representatives from all those different voices, right?
There should be. I don't even
Mm.
know. So, I think it's a great bold step, and I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of scope for this,
Positivity.
and also like developed nations can learn that these are smaller, underdeveloped nations or developing nations, and they are coming together to actually secure such a huge area and say that okay, we are going to stop industrial fishing in this place. So bigger countries can take a lesson from these countries and be
True.
like, yes, we are in support. We will also save a big part of our marine areas, and we would stop
Mm.
the industrial fishing. One that second, if it started, then maybe we will get these updates and we will know and we will have more clarity on where the indigenous communities are coming in, where the funding is coming in, how they're actually going to map the area and how they're going to protect it. Because right now I
Mm.
think it's more like a concept. It's not
Mm.
really like an idea that is implementable yet.
Mm. True.
Yeah.
True. I think yeah, this kind of protection, the, these large swathes of protection, I think, has to be done increasingly. And I think we have talked about how protecting these areas, these large areas, actually increase the spillover in the non-protected areas where the fishermen can fish more than they used to before. um, the spillage is so high, so it
Yes.
would become a win-win situation for the fishing industry as well.
Plus, I think in the fishing industry also they should start like incorporating more of the local fishermen and their knowledge, because they know exactly what time, where, and how to fish, and they don't use trawling kind of methods or anything that harms the environment. Maybe
Mm,
it's time to go back to our roots and go back to like fishing methods that we were used earlier, and not take more than we can give back to the environment. But we'll keep you updated on this news, and we'll let what's happening in these countries and how this ocean corridor is probably going to come to life.
mm, mm. I think that is it for that story, and I think we have one story that definitely we want to cover again. A very positive story. This comes from the Guardian, which says Scottish gannet chick hunt blocked for the first time in 400 years. Scotland's controversial gannet chick hunt, practiced for 400 years, has been blocked for the first time. Nature Scot refused to license the annual Guga hunt on the uninhabited Hebridean island of Sulasiger. Again, this is the Scot pronunciations. I can't do it. I'm probably butchering it, but citing potential adverse impacts on gannet populations based on new scientific modeling. The hunt traditionally kills up to 2,000 seabird chicks over 10 days using nooses and blows to the head. The birds are gutted and salted and eaten as a delicacy in the Western Isles, though widely described as having unpleasant taste. Okay. The hunters, known as men of Ness, have practiced this ancient tradition since Viking times. Wildlife and animal rights organizations celebrated this decision as a victory for common sense after years of protesting the practice. So, what's your first thoughts, Meghna?
I think the victory for common sense, and for me, I mean, that felt like amazing. There were two
Mm,
things I thought about. One, that, oh, why can't they do the same thing with the grind? in the Faroe
Mm,
Islands, because if they stop it, then I think there is a victory for common sense. Secondly, I think, we were just talking about indigenous communities and their knowledge and everything. But at the same time, I think some of their traditions and some of their, ongoing cultural habits are things that need to change with time as well. So
mm.
like this gannet chick hunt, it makes absolutely zero sense because it has unpleasant taste. Like, why do you want to then kill it in the first place? Just because it's tradition?
Yeah, I mean, it would have made a lot of sense at a time when the food was scarce and few and far between. It would have made a lot of sense to have this plenty of food at a particular time in the year, and that's how probably the tradition would have started. But now, when we can buy chicken in the supermarket, why do this? And I'll just share my screen for people who don't know what gannets look like. There's a huge gannet colony in near Auckland as well, where I live. If someone visits Auckland, definitely check that out. But 2,000 gannet chicks that are killed over 10 days because the adults obviously will fly away and we can't fly. But the chicks obviously can't. They haven't fledged yet. So yeah, they are killed, and this is again a win for the common sense, as the article points out. um, Here you can see the map. It's a tiny blip in a bigger map, but this is the island on the corner, the bottom right corner here, and this is where the Sulagir, maybe it's Sagir or Gear, I don't know. Sulagir, I would
I think
want.
it's maybe scare. Yeah, scare. I don't know because the S and G are like together.
I would call it Sulagir. Let's call it Sulagir. Um, you know, this is that island, and the men of Ness are the ones that are hunting there. There's another image, and the Guga hunt. Guga might be the name of
The bird given there
the
locally.
local name of the bird. A candidate
Yeah.
stood for the Holyrood seat of Edinburgh Central in protest against the hunt. Again, one of the rare times a politician has, run the election on a platform of, you know, ending something nefarious. But look at the image of the people actually doing it. It's like taking a big kind of javelin or harpoon and spear, and just, I don't know. It looks very barbaric.
Show the image.
Especially,
Where is the image?
you can see. You have to see within the poster that this seabird is holding.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So they have actually written somewhere above that they use a big pole or something and pick the
The
chicks up from
spear.
the
Hmm.
yeah, 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 and they pick the chicks up from their nest. And I mean, I sometimes feel like, can you ever imagine someone doing this with your baby? Like, your baby is sleeping in a crib, and then someone brings out a big pole and picks it up, and then they're like, "Oh, let me kill this baby and eat it."
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
if
the
you draw that,
hunters,
yeah.
as they say, known as men of nests, take the chicks from their nests in nature reserve of Sulasgir with a noose on a long pole and kill them with a blow to the head. Okay.
Yeah. And then the weird part is, it says, though the taste has been described as absolutely revolting between
Hmm.
rotten leather and fishy beef, whatever it is, and without doubt the most disgusting thing, then why are you still doing it? Like, tradition cannot overpower common sense. It actually is a victory for common sense with this, and I hope there are like victories like this across the board where indigenous traditions like this are put to rest,
Hmm.
especially with the grind that happens in Faroe Island
Hmm.
every year. It's unnecessary, it's brutal, we don't need it. So yeah, let's see that. Let's hope a victory for common sense even from there.
Yeah. Yeah. The grind is. I think it's even more bloody and brutal to the eyes than maybe the Guga hunt. And we have a discussion question. We can quickly go over that as well. When cultural traditions clash with conservation science, which should be prioritized? again, this is a nuanced question, and which can incite a lot of emotions in a lot of people. But in this day and age, if we say that cultural traditions should be prioritized, I think one would be considered living under a rock. Wouldn't you say, Meghna?
Absolutely. I mean, it depends. If your cultural traditions are not harming anyone or anything, then it's fine. Please go ahead and enjoy your cultural traditions. But if they're harming anyone or anything, then please take that into reconsideration and also see how much harm and if it is actually something that you need to do, like in today's age and date.
Mm,
And these traditions do not have any place in today's,
mm,
where we're living in 2026. It really doesn't have place.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that is it we had to say about that story.
Yes.
Um,
And yeah, as usual, it is going to be my message. So we're actually going to be talking about the last topic itself. So, what other traditions that
mm,
cultural traditions have you heard of that sound ridiculous and doesn't make any sense? It can be about sacrificing animals. It can be about sacrificing something else. It could be about hunts. It could be other traditions that don't make any sense to you, but we would love to hear that in the comments, that what are these
mm,
traditions that you would see being stopped across the world, and what other victory for common sense
mm.
can be achieved across the world. Yeah.
Environmentally related, of course, the traditions that are environmentally related and related
You
to
could tell us
wildlife.
other ones as well,
Mm,
but we would
yeah,
love to hear all of it. Yeah.
yeah. And as always, do leave those comments to us. We love reading some of the messages that we get occasionally. And do subscribe to our channel and follow us on all the different social media platforms. You can find all the links in the description, and we are on all the different social media platforms, and we go live everywhere all at once, so you'll be able to catch us wherever you follow us. If you're listening to a recorded version of this episode, and do consider sharing it with you know someone in your friend circle or family circle, and consider leaving us a rating. That just helps us get to more people and get this message out. Again, it's a different conversation. We're not trying to force anything on anybody, but it's a different perspective, and I we feel like it's a need of the hour to get this message as wide as possible. But other than that, that's it for today, and we shall see you next Sunday, same time, same channel. Have a good one,
Uh,
guys.
yeah, we might actually not see you next Sunday,
Yes, that is true. That is true. We might be taking a little break next Sunday, but we will see you
but we'll
probably.
post something or the other.
We'll
So
post,
don't
yeah,
worry about
post an
yeah.
update of when the next show will be. But
Yes.
you guys have a good one.
Yep. Bye bye.